So I have an announcement and a message that I'd like to extend to the outstanding presenters that we've had throughout the day today. In true appreciation of the participation that you've made possible and being here and your time, a donation has been made in your names to Reboot Canada. Reboot Canada is a national charity which provides computer hardware, training, and technical service to other charities, nonprofit organizations, and individuals with limited access to technology. So the gift of your knowledge and time will continue to give after today. And if one more time, if you'd all help me in thanking and acknowledging all of our presenters. And with that, I'd invite Byron to closing remarks for the day. And on my behalf, thanks so much for making my job a lot easier.
All right, well, thank you very much. 4:30, we got back on time, and I certainly thought it was an interesting day. There was a lot of great questions, a lot of great comments from the floor, and certainly the folks who sat in these various chairs, I think, brought a lot to the table. I realize that I'm probably the last thing that separates you from networking and cocktail hour, although that seems to be a bit of a theme, but I don't want you to think that, and also your weekend. So I will make it brief. I just want to touch on a couple things that have been mentioned recently before I sort of wrap things up. One, somebody asked about participation at ICANN. I just want to make sure that everybody knows that in the civil society part of ICANN, there is funding available for individuals to actually attend ICANN meetings. So there is a process by which individuals can participate in ICANN through the civil society group that does have funding associated with it. So you can find it on the ICANN website, but you could also reach out to us at CIRA and we can help point your way there. And that way, literally at a global level, you can participate in internet governance. The other thing I just wanted to mention, I think it was actually the very last speaker who talked about making sure that regulators and government folks participated. Now, I'm not going to out any of them, but I can assure you there are a bunch in the room who are listening to you and to all the comments that have been made thus far. So by the very fact that you are making those comments, we are making those comments, those folks are hearing them because they're here in the room. So thanks again to all of today's speakers. Certainly appreciate all the folks who were here, both local and those who've flown in, and luckily Sally in particular is from California and currently from Western Virginia. We didn't give her the storm that we promised, so that's a good thing. And I also really want to thank Christopher, who I think did a fantastic job moderating today. So thank you, Christopher. That can be a really tough challenge to find that right balance between keeping things moving and letting things go the appropriate length. So it's a tough job. And I also want to thank, of course, everybody here who was in the room, who participated, who's still here at 4:30 on a Friday, who asked great questions, made some really interesting comments, both physically in the room, and of course, we have a bunch of folks who are online. So thank you to them as well. So as I said earlier, the topic of internet governance can seem, to some on the surface, dry. Clearly, I don't believe that. Because once you start peeling back the layers, there's all kinds of issues. And to some degree, we've really just scratched the surface here. And we've heard, is it UBB? Is it remote access? Is it accessibility? Is it price? And on and on and on. What about local issues? What about global issues? Each of those are layers to internet governance that are rich and fascinating unto themselves. However, obviously, if you're here at this time, I probably don't have to convince you of that, but it's important that we all go out as ambassadors for the internet and how it operates in Canada and help convey some of those messages and keep our operators, our regulators, our government folks, our technology people, our VCs, et cetera, accountable. Hold all of our feet to the fire to make the internet a better place in Canada. And I think this is one of those forums that can help do that. And the questions we've heard today are of critical importance to not just this room, but to all Canadians. I think the other really key part is it's really critical when it comes to the internet that these kinds of conversations don't happen behind closed doors. It's the fact that we're having it out here in the public, online for anybody across the country to participate. It's incredibly important that that happens. Because, you know, it may sound like hyperbole, but truly the internet does belong to us all, so it behooves all of us to participate. And it's my opinion, and I believe that of many others, that the power of the internet as a driver of the economy, of the social and political forces cannot be underestimated. You know, its generative, creative, organic nature is what has made it such a strong power and has created this incredibly rich and fast-growing environment that really, you know, transcends almost all part of our lives these days. But we need to be aware that there are forces, both, you know, pro and con, about how it's administered, how it's operated, that are out there that are helping the internet evolve one way or the other. So we all need to take responsibility for how that happens and make sure that it goes the way that we believe it should, that best suits Canadians, best suits Canada. You know, and I think it's particularly important, literally these weeks, as we watch what happens in the Middle East. You know, look at all the historic events, you know, and listening to Leonard was really interesting, right? Because, I mean, everybody can say they're living history, because of course they are, but we're living a point in history that's really profound in terms of some of the technological and communication challenges, or changes that are then leading to some of the things that we see in the Middle East and beyond. So the internet, of course, is an incredibly powerful thing. Let's not take that power for granted. Let's continue to nurture and foster it and guide it. Out of this session will be the resulting white paper that we've talked about. The conversation will continue on. We had some comments about that. We have an online forum right now. People are engaged in the dialogue there. That will continue. And again, depending on the feedback that we continue to get, we may diversify that a bit more. You know, I think somebody said, should we have some more specific forums for different stakeholder groups? I mean, that's a great idea. That's the kind of thing we would take into consideration as we move forward. So I appreciate those comments. And then, of course, once this is consolidated into a white paper, we'll make it publicly available to everyone. So please come back and see the end product. And we will take that to the Global Internet Governance Forum, where we will present that on behalf of everybody that's participated in the process to date. So thank you very much for everybody being here. Appreciate all the comments, all the feedback, all the speakers, and I look forward to continuing the conversation. Thanks very much.